Paris, city of light and love, where countless of American movies were made. Chosen home of the names like Picasso, Givenchy, and Emily recently. But it's also the place where I found my Yves Saint Laurent pants. At first, I was happy. They had a cool cut after all, were my size, not too long, and were only 30 euros, which is a bit like $30. So pretty much the same price as a pair of jeans from H&M. My excitement, however, faded once I was home and inspected the logo. While the logo might very well be real, I started to doubt whether the pants per se were too. There were several indications as to why they were not. Firstly, the hem. It was poorly taken in and the fabric was still on the inside, something I hadn't realized while I tried them on in the friperie in Paris. Secondly, the hook and eye closure on the inside. It didn't have the YSL logo engraved anywhere, and I think they ought to have that. And I also found this photo of this hook closure and it looks so different from mine, and the fact that mine lost its color. It's unbelievable to me that like a renowned designer as Yves would have used an hook and eye closure with this type of poor quality. Thirdly, and the biggest giveaway honestly, was the badly sewn in logo. The line isn't straight, so I was just thinking, which renowned designer would let that slip and sell pants with a poorly sewn in logo? In order to check that, I even looked online on sites like eBay or Etsy to see how the logos in other vintage secondhand pants were sewn in, and frankly, it did not look like mine. And when I looked at the other logos and the way they were sewn in, it was just not sewn in like mine. Like with the other ones, they always used a white thread and they had sewn all around it. And with mine, it was just the top line. And then it wasn't even a straight line, it was black, which is such a no-go. Like you see the way it has been sewn in, and that's why they used a white thread with all the other ones, so it wouldn't be as visible. I am aware that Rive Gauche is ready to wear, but still they should sew things properly. Either it was a real Yves Saint Laurent and they just gave it to another seamstress who had like no aesthetic whatsoever going on, and he chose a black thread. Then another thing which would go with this theory is the fact that they just left the inside fabric of the taken in hem in there. Or second possibility, someone had just ripped off the logo from an actual pair of pants or from any other Yves Saint Laurent merchandise and had sewn it in on this one. So I came to the conclusion to remove this very hated hook and eye closure firstly, and to start to look for another button. Yves Saint Laurent was famous for his fancy embellished buttons he did in the beginning of his career, and I wanted a similar one. And while I get the idea behind the hook and eye closure on the inside, it gives a clean line on the outside and the button is not visible. But besides the fact that I didn't like it at all, it was also a tiny bit too loose around my waist, so I just got rid of it. It's hard to find nice buttons nowadays. They're not produced the way they were in the 60s. There's only one cute button shop in Bern I found once when I visited the city, but other than that, the button shops are rare. So I looked online, and while I had no luck finding any good Yves Saint Laurent buttons online, I checked out eBay and Etsy, and there were only buttons with the logo on and a bit overpriced, to be honest. I did, however, find my luck with random buttons. I looked it up on Rabbit Lane. a site I've gotten to love, which sells antique things and vintage things up until maybe the 60s. Sometimes you're lucky to find things from the 70s or 80s. And I found this steel cut French button, and it's from this amazing seller. From now owning one, I can definitely say the photo does not do the button any justice. It looks way better in real life, in actual light, than on the photos. The button arrived super quickly, that wasn't the issue. I, however, had to figure out on how to actually sew in a buttonhole on my pants. And for this, dug out my grandma's old sewing machine from the 50s. And I looked at the manual since I had no clue how to sew in a buttonhole. I kind of had an idea, but I've never done it before, so yeah. When sewing a buttonhole, there are two ways on doing it on the sewing machine or on this specific sewing machine. You can do it either manually with a number 3 foot or automatically with a number 3A foot. On this foot, you can set the length on the buttonhole you want and it will sew it for you. I additionally wanted to do it with the automatic foot because I didn't trust my own sewing experience, abilities, and for that I tested it on a leftover fabric. I advise you to test it beforehand, best on a fabric that has the same characteristics as the fabric you will sew it on. In my case, that wasn't exactly possible, so I just chose this random leftover fabric I had. That, however, didn't turn out so well. I don't really know why. Although I measured and set the right length on my sewing machine and on the foot, it didn't sew it that way, and all I got were those tiny embroidered points. So I went for the manual and just changed the setting, like you had to click on the button every time you wanted to change the position. I properly sew it on my actual pants, and in the end you just have to rip the fabric in between open, like in between the two embroidered parts, and I did that with a seam ripper and it turned out well. I'm so happy with it, and I think it could look like an early Yves Saint Laurent button, like the button I have. It's yeah, really cool. I like it. Final question. Was the whole video clickbait? Well, not exactly. While I edited this video, I looked a bit closer at the photos that I had screenshot before, and I think those pants here could be from around the same time, and the logo looks the same. It has this little size indication on the side as well, and to be honest, the way everything was sewn in looked pretty skilled and pretty similar also on my pant. Then I found also those pants online, and they're so similar to mine, but I don't think they're the same. Now, if I had to date my pants based on the logo, I would say they're mid-80s to mid-90s, because I saw this post here where the colors are in Yves Saint Laurent in the name itself, and on mine it's next to Rive Gauche. Here they say that the one where the colors are colored in Yves Saint Laurent are from the 70s and the 80s. But then I saw also this post here where my logo is said to be 80s. And then I know it goes up until to the mid-90s because I found this advertisement. The first one from 1992 is with Kate Moss, and the other one with a model I don't know, but she's probably known, is from 1996. And those logos are the evidence as to why you can date them between 1980s and 1990s. I would say mine are rather 1990s because like the shape of the pants is not typical 1980s. In conclusion, I probably did thrift flip an actual Yves Saint Laurent pants, believing them to be fake. So yeah, I'm happy with the result because I needed to change the position of the closure anyway. So I needed to change the original state of the pants anyway, besides the fact that they already had been altered by its previous owner, so they weren't even actual Yves Saint Laurent pants anymore, the way Yves Saint Laurent intended them. So yeah, would you have changed them? With mine, I was so not sure, and I was debating for several months whether I should do it or not, but then I said the hook and closure was just too much. And yeah, that's everything on the pants. Thank you so much for watching. You hear from me next time.